Hi, my name is Kyle, and we're going to be looking at defining leadership and what it takes to be an effective leader. So what is leadership? Leadership, as we know it, is subjective. It's influenced by our experiences, our leadership styles, and career choice. While authors pose different definitions based on their perspectives, the overall goal of every leader, regardless of their career choice, is to leave the company, the campus, or the people better than when they first arrived. According to the National Policy Board for Educational Administration, leadership is defined as leaders who develop, advocate, and enact a shared mission, vision, and core value of high-quality education and academic success and well-being of each student. When we look in the business world, we may see leadership as the art of leading others to deliberately create a result that would happen otherwise. This could be found in the Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute. Winston and Patterson define a leader who selects, equips, trains, and influences others to achieve organizational success. All in all, we see that leadership is about helping others to better themselves. As a former coach, I can see many situations in and out of the business world and relate that back to how a coach is to run a team. A coach is a leader, and two leaders that I admire as coaches are Tony Dungy and John Wooden. Not because they won games, but their goal was to change lives in and off the field. Coach Dungy wrote a book called The Mentor Leader, and the key theme is all about shaping, nurturing, empowering, growing relationships, and adding value to the lives of people in the process. The goal is to begin building leaders that will take your place someday. In his book, he gives the 7 E's for enhancing one's potential. They are engage, educate, equip, encourage, empower, energize, and elevate. The second coach that I admire for his leadership skills is John Wooden, a basketball coach who won 10 NCAA titles with UCLA. His leadership on and off the court was not about being the biggest or the strongest. It was about outworking the competition and having character. His techniques on leadership have been used and applied to the business models around the world. In his book on leadership, Coach explains that his leadership was learned through listening, observation, study, and trial and error. Leaders need to demand attention to details. Coach explains that it's not the big things that made him a winning coach. It was the hundreds of small things done the right way and done consistently. As a leader, you must identify each of these many details that are most pivotal to team success and then establish and teach a high standard of behavior or performance in executing those details. It's working harder than your competition. Both coaches were tough and demanded respect, but they also would walk alongside people to equip, encourage, and build them up to be better than when they were when they first met. Leadership is also about having a hunger for wisdom. One of the most successful companies in the world right now is Chick-fil-A. Mark Miller, the executive vice president, created a model called SERVE. It stands for see the future, engage and develop others, reinvent continuously, value results and relationships, and embody the values. In leadership, everyone will hit speed bumps, but it's how you respond to those bumps that will determine your future. Mark Miller's servant leadership builds on the fact that leaders invest in the development of their people, and when you can find a successor who can carry on when your season of leadership has ended, that is the hallmark of a great leader. This past summer, I was able to go to the Leadership Blueprint conference held by Flip Flippin's group. And they gave the wagon analogy while I was there. So basically the wagon analogy is that you have an old cart, a wooden cart from the old days with those large wooden wheels. The wagon represents the organization. In and around the cart are the employees, which can be broken down into three categories. You have the pullers, the riders, and the speed bumps. The pullers account for 29% of the staff who are happy. They're actively engaged, they see the vision, and they're growing the company. They are pulling the cart. These are usually the leaders of the organization. The riders account for 54% of the staff and who are there to do a job description. Not bad people, but will only do the job, what the job entails, and not anything more. The speed bumps account for 17% of the staff and represent the hidden obstacle on the journey to success. They are the rocks in the road who only come to work to break the wheels down. The wagon has to move forward to get to its destination. But when you look at most leaders and where their time is spent during the day, they spend a majority of their time on the speed bumps that only account for 17%, when the focus should be on the 83%. The 83% should be able to work together and work beside each other and support each other along the way. I point out several definitions to relate that regardless of the setting that you're in, most all leadership skills and techniques are applicable to other areas of leadership. So I believe it is no different with a technology-rich environment. In a technology-rich environment, you will use the same leadership skills to effectively engage and inspire your staff. As you see in all the leaders I've mentioned, communication is key to building and keeping quality. This is true whether face-to-face or in a virtual environment. So what about management? Does leadership and management differ? Leadership and management are different but complement each other. Leadership is a soft talent. It revolves around influence, motivation, drive, and other unquantifiable skills. Management is a hard skill that is often defined as the science of quantifying a project by evaluating the skills within an organization. Managers create budgets. They determine the tasks and subtasks required to meet a goal. They keep a project on schedule and other quantifiable skills. Effective leadership can increase an organization's success and improve the productivity of workers. If done poorly, management can make life very difficult and stressful for workers and even harm organizations. Warren Bennis, a scholar and author who published a book on becoming a leader, concluded that leaders innovate and focus on individuals. Managers administer and focus on systems. Peter Drucker wrote, "Management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things." In his assessment, a leader starts by asking, what needs to be done? He noted the increasing prominence of knowledge workers and suggested that the new challenge is to lead people rather than manage them. The Center for Leadership Development describes the contrast this way. The manager's job is to plan, organize, and coordinate. The leader's job is to inspire and motivate. So what is the relationship between leadership and knowledge management? According to Rosenberg, knowledge management is the creation, archiving, and sharing of valued information, expertise, and insight within and across communities of people and organizations with similar interests and needs to build competitive advantage. A good example of this would be at the beginning of the year in education, school districts host in-service where administrators can communicate their vision and mission and goals for the year. It also allows newly hired teachers to get all the information needed to be on the same playing field as the veteran teachers. However, there has not been much research on the influence of specific leadership behavior and knowledge management, but some research has investigated leadership styles and the impact they have on knowledge management. Crawford studied transactional leadership, transformation, and laissez-faire leadership to determine the impact on knowledge management behavior and focused on the information acquisition, creation, and application. While their findings indicated a positive relationship existed between transactional and knowledge knowledge management effectiveness, a negative relationship was shown to exist between laissez-faire and knowledge management, suggesting that knowledge management success requires active leadership participation focused on information acquisition, creation, and application were critical to that success. This suggests that leaders who exhibit laissez-faire are more likely to have a decrease in information acquisition, creation, and applications. So it is essential to have leadership who possesses qualities and skills that create conditions for creating, sharing, and learning new knowledge. They have goals for the organization and a belief that knowledge management is important. Knowledge management is a key component of the organization to get better results and stay competitive. It sets the standard for interaction among technologies, techniques, and people, and relate it to the ability of an organization to create new knowledge, disseminate it in an organization, and incorporate it in their products, services, and systems. Like leadership, knowledge management has many definitions. We have to understand that leadership as a process should serve as a source of inspiration and motivation, proposing and approving new ideas and valuing individual differences. With effective communication, explaining the knowledge management goals and paths to be followed, leadership can act as a change and corporate transformation agent. It is the responsibility of a leader to act as a true architect of knowledge, training members of the organization through the development of a shared vision, providing resources, delegating authority, and celebrating success. If there is no direct support of the leadership at all levels, it is less likely that the knowledge management actions do not reach the desired level of performance. What are specific behaviors and skills that are common to effective leadership? In a technology-rich environment, Hershey et al. States leadership involves three interrelated areas: cognitive, behavioral, and process skills. A cognitive skill is being able to diagnose the environment by assessing the current situation and planning what can be done to solve the problem. A behavioral skill is adapting behavior and other resources to match whatever actions are required to solve the problem. And a process skill is the communication. Hershey et al. Was very clear on the importance to remember to implement on a daily routine so it becomes second nature. It's just like John Wooden said, it's doing the small things consistently. Zinger and Folkman identified 9 behaviors that have the greatest impact on employees. The first is to inspire and motivate others. It is important to inspire employees to unlock an extra level of effort and energy in the employee. The second is driving for results. Leaders who are effective at driving for results are skillful at getting people to stay focused on and stretch for the highest priority goals. They establish high standards of excellence for the work group. Leaders that do this are not afraid to ask their employees for a higher level of performance and continually remind them of their progress relative to the goal. The third one is strategic perspective. Leaders who provide their team with a definite sense of direction and purpose tend to have more satisfied and committed employees. The fourth is collaboration. Leaders who promote a high level of cooperation between their work group and other groups create a positive and productive atmosphere in the organization. The fifth is walk the talk. A key behavior in creating a satisfied and committed workforce is the very basic and fundamental skill of being honest and acting with integrity. Leaders need to be role models and set a good example for their work group. Sixth is trust. Leaders can engender trust by becoming aware of concerns, aspirations, and circumstances of others. Consistency is the key to building this kind of trust. 7 is to develop and support others. When leaders work with employees and push them to develop new skills and abilities, they are building higher levels of employee satisfaction and commitment. Employees who develop new skills become higher performers and more promotable. The 8th is building relationships. Leaders who stay in touch with issues and concerns of individuals in the work group have employees with higher levels of employee satisfaction and commitment. And last is courage. They do not shy away from conflicts. They deal with issues head on and do not wait to confront. Does content knowledge and instructional skill make an effective leader? Having content knowledge alone limits the effectiveness of a leader. They need to have both content knowledge and facilitation skills. I would even go as far to suggest that if they have to lack one over the other, I think someone can lead with strong facilitation skills and minimum content knowledge. That's why you have content experts throughout the organization. According to the book School Leadership Through the Seasons, leaders need to have a strong core in teaching and learning. Leaders cannot be content experts in all subjects, but can know effective strategies to implement and empower student learning. Leaders must know where to find the content experts to provide staff with the training and learning they need to implement in class. Are effective leadership traits situational? They have to be. As a leader, you never know what problems you will be faced with during the day. It may be anything from the internet crashing or a simple request from your boss. Napier and Litchfield stated, successful leaders are those who adapt their behavior to meet the needs of their followers in particular situations. Therefore, situational leadership explains how leaders must react and decide based on specific circumstances, and that all leadership is situational. The impact of understanding that leadership is situational allows you as a leader to understand that all people are different, that all situations are different if the knowledge, skills, and abilities of people are different, and that the leadership style must change to accommodate the needs of your people. One leadership style does not work for all circumstances. It is all about your abilities to assess the situation and providing value and reasoning to determine the best path for you and your people. There are many styles of leadership that fit many types of businesses and organizations. People learn and become motivated in different ways. So effective leaders need to know which styles work best in what situations or organizations. Leadership studies suggest that there is no right or wrong style, and that each one works in certain environments. So what leadership traits are essential to effective team leadership? Almost all the great traits that are attractive and constitute great leadership have to do with how you lead people. John Maxwell always says that leadership is influence. John gives us 10 traits for effective team leadership. The first is to leverage influence for your team. Great team leaders leverage their influence and power to promote and serve their teams. Second, you must be approachable. A team leader that creates a culture of approachability is a leader worth following. Third, you must have a solid grip on reality. In Steve Jobs' biography, the author uses a phrase that Steve had reality deprivation. Leaders who are not in tune with reality create teams that are unhealthy and frustrating. The fourth is relational. Over and over again, leaders talk about and point to relational leaders as being more effective than results. It doesn't mean results do not matter, because they clearly do. It's how do you lead people to get results. Emotional intelligence is central to this conversation. Consistent. Let's be honest, no one wants to be on a team that they have to guess which mood the leader is going to be in, or what today is going to hold because of the inconsistency of the team leader. The sixth is calm and stable. Roy Denver talked recently about the commander that gave their team one of the greatest leadership lessons ever while they were in the field. He simply said, "Calm is contagious." So true. Seventh, release ownership and delegate. Nothing shows the commitment of a team leader more than a leader who is willing to release ownership and delegate important tasks, projects, and relationships. It shows way more than trust. It shows character and priority. The eighth is self-aware. There is something attractive about leaders who just know who they are and operate with an extensive self-awareness. I've always said the quicker we can be proud of how God wired us, the quicker we will become the leader He wants us to be. Trustworthy. I'm pretty sure this requires no explanation, but integrity will always be at the top of the list for the greatest leaders in the world. And 10. Respected. As much as I wish that all respect comes from relational investments over time with your team, I'll be the first to admit that competency to achieve results is also crucial to this characteristic. You can't lead well without a standard of excellence and a strong skill set for work. So to answer the question, most of these team traits are similar, if not exactly like, the individual traits in leadership. The reason I believe this is because if you're an effective leader, you are an effective leader in whatever situation you approach, and the traits will be the same. When I think of leadership, the term credibility means that leaders need to be trusted, and the quality of being believed and accepted as true, real, or honest is essential to leading. When you're responsible for a team of people, it's important to raise the bar even higher. Your business and its employees are a reflection of yourself, and if you make honest and ethical behavior a key value, your team will follow suit. The next term, confidence. I think of as a leader, we should exude confidence even on the down days. The goal is to keep everyone moving ahead toward the goal, and they need to see the confidence in the leader. The next term, climate. I think of you want to keep your team motivated towards the continued success of the company and keep the energy levels up, whether that means providing snacks, coffee, advice, or even just an occasional break in the office. Remember that everyone on your team is a person. Keep the office mood fine between productivity and playfulness. And lastly is community. When you spend more time with your work people than you do with your own family, it is essential to treat them like family and have a place where everyone is involved and has a place they are valued and loved. As a leader, it is important to self-reflect about our own level of contribution. Remain alert to any bumps in the journey and possible obstacles for your employees. One of the most important things is to ensure that the bumps do not become immovable frustrations. Such frustrations are not only potentially bad for your engaged and committed employees, but also for your organizational journey. Give the employees a voice and provide an opportunity to either get them in the wagon or throw them away from the journey.